And we are live. Sunday Service episode number 12. Welcome back. Sorry for the delay. We had some technical difficulties. You know how it is. All the production. Massive production scale we got going on here. The camera was not working. Stuff wasn't loading. But here we are, 10 minutes late to give you the Sunday Service episode number 12. We're recapping UFC 302. Thank you all for joining tonight. We got the YouTube live chat coming in. We're going to get the IG live chat up on the screen so I can see who's joining. Larry in the YouTube chat. Always showing up early, ready to go. Let's get that up. A slow internet tonight or what? Jeez. I mean, we're dragging. We're dragging. Instagram says they can't hear me. I can hear myself at this point. The Wi-Fi's buns. Well, audio issues or slow connection. It's got to be slow connection. Good Lord. You think with all the technology we got in this room, you think we could get some decent connection in here? Let me know when we're good and we could move forward. They said the Wi-Fi is acting brazy. Yeah, I mean you can hear me, but it's a little choppy, a little laggy. Did I win or lose this weekend? Major Dorsey in the IG chat. I won. I won 4.35 units. That's a decent day. It's a solid day. Any day in the profit is a good day. Hopefully you won some money as well. Connection is getting better. Good to hear. Good to hear. Maybe we just got to settle into it. Ease into it. A little foreplay before we get into the thick of things. Billy Boys in the YouTube chat. What's going on, brother? Yeah, I think we're just a little bit laggy. Hopefully that clears up. Because we don't want to get into the thick of things and it's a little choppy. Maybe we gotta hop off the McDonald's Wi-Fi, maybe. What's up, Paige? Hello from Australia. Hello to you, my brother. There we go. Is this any better? Dos Santos sold you last night, brother. It was a close fight. 1-1 going into the third. He was just a step behind in the striking. Cashed in with a Sean pick. He has to get a title shot, right? We will talk about that. And I think a title shot is definitely valid. I would say it's a lot more valid than anybody else in the middleweight division for him to get a title shot. Because, bro, like Izzy versus DDP is probably going to go down. He had a win. He's got a win over Izzy. A close fight against Drakus. And I'm sure the UFC wants to do Hamzat Whitaker, the winner of that, to fight for the title next. But I don't know, man. Like, it just doesn't really make too much sense to me. Maybe if Whitaker wins, but if Hamzat wins off of that, I don't know, man. I don't know. What up, New Jersey betting guru? What's going on, brother? Still crying? Man, it was a long car ride home last night after DP got subbed. Very, very long ride home. And some sad music was played. Glad you made profit. Hey, Jive. I hit a 7-leg parlay that paid 25x if the Strickland Classified didn't go the distance. I had an 11-leg parlay, and that was the last leg. It would have paid 180K. Sheesh. That would have, good hits on the 25x, but the 180x would have been insane. Do I like Perez's bunda? If we're talking Eileen Perez, no comment, my brother. No comment. I do like her as a fighter, though. She got good wrestling. She's aggressive. She goes for it. And you can always respect that. She puts on a show. All the fighters from Goat Shed, they put on a show. They put on an absolute show. All right, we're about 5 minutes in. We'll probably go about 5-10 more minutes in the IG chat, then we're going to cut it off. So if you're in the IG chat right now, I would jump over to the YouTube chat. Just hit the link in my bio. You could join there on YouTube. But the quality on YouTube, I think, is a little bit better. IG is a little tough. So just come on over to YouTube if you're in for the thick of it, and we can get in to the thick of it. Audio and connection, much better now. Thank you. I appreciate that for the update, and we can hop into it, man. UFC 302 recap. Not a very good card, man. I mean, I put out a video earlier on my YouTube with the real recap. It's like 30 minutes. You can check that out after this. But I want to talk to you guys about this. This is why we're doing the live. It's to get the viewers engaged. I want to get your guys' thoughts. Because me talking into a camera, giving my recap, just ain't the same. I want to hear what you guys got to say. Main event. What did you think of the main event? Because I thought it was a pretty solid fight. I was very impressed with Dustin Poirier overall. His ability to defend the takedowns, get up from the takedowns was impressive to me because we've seen in the past, even in the BSD fight, like he had trouble defending those takedowns and then getting to his feet and doing work there, or at least staying there. I was also impressed with Islam Makhachev's striking. And if you watched any of my content earlier in the week, I was thinking that DP was probably going to be able to piece him up on the feet. And he didn't really find a ton of success on the feet. I think both guys had success on the feet, but Islam did a lot of really solid work on the feet that I was impressed with. First round, Islam gets him down, takes his back. DP's in a real bad spot. But he was able to survive, and I think that was the smart thing to do. He didn't try to get out of it, really. He was just trying to stay safe, get it to round two. Round two, that's where Dustin Poirier started to come on a little bit. Started to come on, give us a little bit of hope. But it's probably still an Islam round because Islam was doing some damn good work on his feet in round two. So it was probably 2-0 going into round three. And then round three, I think, was the other round that Islam took his back. Dustin stayed safe for the most of it. But it was probably 3-0 at that point. Round four. Round four was where DP gave us all the hope in the world because he cut open Islam with that elbow to the top of the head, had him gushing blood. And we're like, oh my God, DP could be live for a finish here. If Islam's slowing down and he can't get takedowns, Dustin started to defend almost every takedown towards the end of the fight. And then we get to round five, man. Round five, DP just makes one mistake. He gives up, or Islam grabs his leg. He falls to the ground. Islam grabs or jumps for the guillotine. If he would have finished the guillotine, man, I probably would have cried. That just would have been disgusting. But goes for the guillotine, switches it to the Darce choke, gets him out of there. DP taps. There's really nothing he could do. He was toast at that point. He was toast because he's not getting out of that. I don't think there's any way he could get out of that, and he was dog tired. So, hell of a fight for DP, though. If there's one way you want to go out, it's like that. Went out on his shield, gave Islam probably one of the toughest fights he's had in a while. I mean, you could say Volk gave him a tougher run, which is probably true. But Dustin was a massive underdog. He goes in there, defends the takedowns, has some success, gets Islam bloodied up, and just couldn't quite get there. It's tough. Rope Lord, DP did better than you expected. Shouldn't retire. Fight Volk. See, this is why we do the IG live chats, because you're saying fight Volk. That's pretty interesting. That's if Volk goes up to 155, that would be an interesting matchup. I don't know that DP would really go crazy over that, though. Larry, can we talk about the cut on Islam's face when the round 5 was starting? One of the worst gashes I've seen. That's definitely the most damaged we've seen Islam, in my opinion, compared to the Volk fight. Like, he was damaged by Volk pretty badly in that round 5, but he had a massive gush on his forehead. Those DP body shots against the cage. in the clinch where Savage, I was so hyped at that point. Yeah, man, I thought those probably could have done some damage, but you just couldn't really get enough torque on him to really make Islam feel him. And he said that in the post fight interview. He's like, I couldn't really unload on those, didn't hit the right spots. Dustin versus Charles, one last title shot, man. I don't know that really makes sense, to be honest, because winner of that's probably not getting a title shot. And I mean, it'd be a hell of a fight. Definitely a fight I would love to watch. But I don't know that Dustin's like, yeah, I want to fight Charles again and try to get back to the belt. I think he knows at this point his title aspirations are kind of out the window. You know, the three times that he's had a chance to fight for the title and he's lost, and it's not written in the stars, man. Dustin Poirier being the undisputed champion is just not written in the stars. He had to face the best three lightweights of all time. The three lightweight GOATs. If you're ranking lightweights of all time, it's Khabib, Islam, and Charles Oliveira. And that's who Dustin had to face for his title shots, man. It's like he's facing the best guys, and it's just not written in the stars, man. Just couldn't really get an opportunity to face a guy that he could beat at 155. But he's right there. Like, even last night, we still saw he's right there. He's right there at the top. And I would love to see him keep fighting. I really would. Because, yes, he is 35. Got that 35-year-old curse. But, man, Charles is turning 35 soon? Damn. Yeah, he's pretty much over at this point, too. I mean, he had his chance to get his title eliminator back against Arman. He blew that. That should have been 5 rounds, though, too. That's a different story. But the question does become, I see you in the chat, Larry. What's next for Big Mouth? We can talk about that later. We're talking about main event right now, though. We'll get back to that. Question for DP is, like, is this over? Is Dustin Poirier going to be done with MMA? And I would find it hard to believe that he is. He says that there's nothing left for him at this point. All he wanted to do is be the undisputed champion of the world. He's gotten three strikes at it. He failed all 3 times. You could hear the pain in his voice when he was saying that at the post-fight press conference. Like, all I want to be is the undisputed champion of the world. And he knows at this point that's probably over. If I had to guess, I would say Dustin Poirier takes some time off, maybe about a year, maybe a year and a half, and then it starts to catch up to him. Like, he hasn't been preparing for a fight. He wants to get back in the cage, get back to what he's used to, what he's been doing for the past 15, 20 years of his life. He wants to get back to that. And then I think he comes back into a fight that is intriguing for him, or at least one that maybe he hasn't had yet. And I think that could be a Dustin Poirier versus Nate Diaz type of fight. And I think that could be a type of retirement fight. Like, all right, one last one. We give Nate Diaz, Dustin Poirier, a fight that was supposed to happen before, a fight that they wanted to happen recently. Dustin went on this short little title run, doesn't get there, takes some time off. He comes back to the UFC after about a year and a half off. Nate Diaz does his boxing stuff, he gets paid, and then he makes his return to the UFC, and we have Dustin Poirier versus Nate Diaz. Maybe 2025, 2026. I think that could make sense. I just don't see Poirier not coming back. I don't think he's going to be able to be content just being done fighting, because he's been a fighter his entire life. This is his life. He's a fighter, man. And after about 6 months to a year off of not fighting, he's going to be itching. He's going to want to fight again. And then at that point, it's like, what makes sense for him? And I think a Dustin Poirier versus Nate Diaz type of fight could make sense. All right, let's cut the IG chat. So if you're in the IG chat, hit the link in my bio and join the YouTube chat if you want to keep watching the Sunday service. We still got a ton more to talk about. Later in the show, we're going to talk about Dana White's comments on the pound-for-pound list And I got some shit to say about that, I'll tell you that. I got some stuff to back it up, too. I got a lot to back it up. So you want to stay tuned for that. Jump in the YouTube chat. IG live chat is getting ended right now. We're going to exit out of that. Jeez, I really hope this is not super choppy. Let me know in the YouTube chat if it's choppy or not, because this is lagging on my screen here. All right, there we go. There we go. We're going to full screen this. Maybe not. Maybe not. Okay, we're good. All right, Volk called out Dustin. Rope Lord. Rope Lord really wants this Dustin versus Volk fight. And I could see it, man. I just don't know that Dustin would be interested, fighting a featherweight. I mean, maybe. If Volk is interested, maybe that interests Dustin a little bit more. But does that mean that Volk is just done with 145 or what? Has he just given up at 145? Like, he wanted to fight Poirier in a rematch. So is he just done with that or what? But if Volk wants to fight Dustin, maybe Dustin is into that. Maybe he's into that. Because it's a fresh matchup. It's a guy that is still, maybe not quite in his prime right now, but he's still dangerous. He's still a top fighter in the world. So that's definitely something that Dustin would probably be interested in. Who do you think could beat Islam? At 155, I don't know. I really don't know. I think maybe Arman could give him some troubles with the wrestling, or at least be able to negate the wrestling. But as we saw last night, I think Islam should be able to handle himself on the feet. He's really just the complete package at 155. If you're a striker, he can take you down and he can do his work there, and he can handle himself on the feet. And if you're a wrestler, he's probably going to outstrike you. So he's the complete package at 155. I don't know that anybody can beat him at 155. If he moves up to 170, then I think that's a different outcome, because let's just face it, like, Islam is a massive dude at 155. If he goes up to 170, he would have to bulk up for that fight. And if he's fighting a guy like Leon Edwards, who's had his wrestling tested against Kamaru Usman over and over again, against Colby Covington over and over again, I think that's a tough matchup for Islam, because Leon's a fantastic striker on the feet, and he has good takedown defense, and he's a big welterweight, man. 6'2", long, strong, really, really solid grappling if it hits the ground, and really good takedown defense. So I think that's a tough matchup for him. But at 155, I just don't know that anybody could beat him. DP, come on, baby. Come on, baby. There we go. DP should recover for a while and take a break and see how the division unfolds. I could see Dana giving him another run at the title if Conor is in contention or something like that. From what I've heard, I don't see Dustin really wanting the Conor fight again. I think he's said over and over again, like, it's not something that he wants in his life. And yeah, I don't know. He's fought him 3 times already. He's beaten him twice. One was an injury, but yeah, I don't know. Weird. I think it'd be weird for Dustin and Conor to fight again. Maybe. I don't know. I just think there's a lot of other matchups that Dustin would be more interested in than to fight a guy he's already fought 3 times. You said if the fight stays on the feet for a while, Islam gets KO'd. Yeah, bro. I did say that. I will admit that. But a lot of that has to do with the threat of the takedown for Dustin. Like, I don't think he could really let his hands go or do what he normally does, because he's just afraid of getting taken down. And that's a massive weapon for Islam when he's on the feet. Hey, that motherfucker Alex Morono a treadmill. Oh, man, Alex Morono last night was disgusting. Get that dude a treadmill, absolutely. That dude gassed after 1 round. Stream is fine. Thank you, brother. Thank you. It's just a little laggy on the screen here, so I just wanted to make sure. This might be a crazy take, but I think Gamrot might be the toughest matchup for Islam at 155. You might be right. You actually might be right, Larry, because as much as I hate on Gamrot, as much as I hate his fight style, he's still a damn good wrestler. And he beat Arman Sarukian by wrestling him, by grappling him up. And he he peppers you on the feet. He's got a good jab, and just the threat of the takedown is always constant. He's just going to spam takedowns over and over and over again. So maybe Gamrot is the toughest matchup for Islam at 155, but I hope to God he doesn't get a chance to fight for the belt. When do you think they should book Islam versus Arman? I would assume they're probably going to do it UFC Abu Dhabi in October. That's usually when it is, October. I would assume that's probably the next fight for Islam. Islam versus Arman, Abu Dhabi, it probably makes the most sense. Holloway versus Islam would be interesting. You know, I actually think that too. I think Holloway Islam would be interesting, but I think the weight discrepancy would just be too much. I think it would be too much to overcome. Like, we know Holloway has great takedown defense, and he can handle himself on the ground, but I don't think he's faced anyone as big as Islam or as dominant in the wrestling and grappling category as Islam. So it would be interesting just because on the feet, I think Holloway could box him up. Maybe. I mean, Poirier really couldn't, but maybe Holloway can. But yeah, that's an interesting fight. Paulo Costa has no power and is overrated. Rope Lord. Dropping the heat. Base take by Rope Lord. Yeah, man. Before the fight, I put up my top 10 most overrated fighters in the UFC. Paulo Costa was number 3. There is no reason he should have got that fight. And we could talk more about that, or maybe we just get into it right now since it's the next fight we could talk about. And we pretty much covered everything on the Islam side. So why not? Why not? Let's talk about it. Co-main event. Paulo Costa, Sean Strickland. I said it before. I mean, there's no reason that Paulo Costa should have gotten this fight against Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland's just being a company man that he is, takes the fight. Absolutely nothing to gain other than getting another win under his belt and another paycheck. Paulo Costa went in there with the worst game plan he could. The worst game plan you can go into a fight with against Sean Strickland is to stay on the back foot and try to chip away at him, point fight him. All Paulo Costa had to do was take the DDP approach. Be aggressive. Be moving forward. Get Sean to respect something that's coming at you other than the leg kicks. Because Sean could take leg kicks. He could take the leg kicks and he'll just keep moving forward, keep keeping you, keep throwing the 1-2, keep jabbing your face off. Paulo Costa was just banking on leg kicks and banking on a couple rips to the body here and there or a couple hooks, floating backwards the entire fight. That's the worst game plan you could go in there with. And yeah, Paulo Costa is super overrated. Super overrated at this point. Because what has he done? What has he done at all? He's 1-4 in his last 5 fights. And his only win is against Luke Rockhold, who hadn't fought in 2 or 3 years before that and then retired after that fight. So yeah, he's done nothing. And it's time for him to really go back in the rankings. Fight someone lower in the rankings. Maybe pick up a win. Just pick up a win, man. Get back on track. Get some type of finish under your belt to get your confidence back. And he came out with a video saying that he was going to do that in his next fight. Why didn't you do it in this fight, man? If there's a fight to ever be aggressive in, it's the one you had last night against Sean Strickland. Because you're not going to win the fight moving off your back foot the entire time. And yeah, David Torelli was on crack. I put out the reel on my IG. That dude needs to be investigated. 49-46 for Costa is just disgusting. It's literally the only thing you can think about when you see that scorecard is this was rigged. Somebody had to be trying to rig this fight. That's a fraudulent card. That dude needs to be investigated or he needs to be banned or both. He needs to be banned for one, but he should be investigated for something. You know Dave Torelli personally. And I absolutely could not believe his scorecard last night. How do you know him personally? You actually know this guy? If you know this guy and you got some information, hit my DMs, brother. You hit my DMs because this dude had 2 of the worst scorecards I've ever seen. And if you look at his track record, he's had numerous scorecards that are just bizarre. Something that does not make any type of sense. So Dave Torelli, you gotta be out of here. He's been doing it for 14 years. How do you be doing this for 14 years and those are the scorecards you're pulling out in a co-main event of a pay-per-view? That's terrible. Islam's a lightweight GOAT. Dave Torelli mixed up their names? You really think he mixed up their names? How can you mix up their names? One guy's name is Paulo Costa. He's a Brazilian. Paulo Costa is clearly the Brazilian guy. Sean Strickland is clearly the white guy with a buzz cut. How do you mix up their names? I mean, maybe that's the only explanation we can come out of this, is like he mixed up their names. And if that's the case, then Buddy needs to get like his brain checked, because if you're mixing up names, maybe you shouldn't be judging, because you got to be on point. You got to be ready to go. And David Torelli was not ready to go if that's the case. Izzy stole his aura when he humped him. Yeah, Paulo Costa. I mean, ever since that fight, man, he just really has not looked the same. What do you think is next for Kevin Holland? James, that's a common question here that's going on. Larry said it before. And yeah, man, Jesus Christ, this is so laggy. I'm trying to get the chat on the screen, but it's just so slow. We could talk about that later, though, James. It'll be the next fight up. Next fight up, we're talking about Kevin Holland. We're talking about co-main event here. Larry Torelli not only fucked up the Sean fight, but also the Lima scorecards. Yeah. That was the other scorecard. That was absolutely terrible. Zach, you're going to hit my DMs with the information on Dave Torelli. I appreciate you, man. God, can I get this off the screen? Jesus. There we go. We're off the screen. All right. One thing I do want to talk about. Let me try to pull it up here. Is what's next? What's next for Sean Strickland or Paulo Costa? Come here. Just got to pull up my graphic that I made earlier. What's next for Sean Strickland? I would say the winner. It's got to be the winner between DDP and Israel Adesanya, because Israel Adesanya, for one, shouldn't be getting a title shot. That is so dumb. That is just straight up for money. That's straight up for promotion. That's straight up because they need a headliner in Australia, and they got to get a guy that's from the region, either New Zealand or Australia. That's the only reason he's getting a title shot, because he hasn't earned the title shot. His last fight was a loss to Sean Strickland to lose the title, and somehow he's getting a title shot based on what he's done before. That's so dumb. You should have to go back and get a win to get a title shot. Sean loses the belt to DDP in a razor close fight. He goes out and picks up a win against Paulo Costa, so he should be next in line to fight for the belt. Because if you look at who else could fight for the title, they want to push Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev as a title eliminator. I think that's so dumb, because Chimaev still hasn't beaten a true middleweight. And if he beats Whittaker, then Whittaker, yeah, he's a true middleweight, but the guy's only beaten one middleweight. I mean, Khamzat really shouldn't even be ranked at this point. He hasn't beaten a middleweight. So why can't Chimaev get 2 wins before fighting for the title? Let Sean Strickland, who just fight the winner between DDP and Israel Adesanya. He's got history with both. If Izzy beats DDP, boom, Izzy gets his chance to get his redemption against Sean Strickland. And if DDP beats Izzy, then Sean Strickland gets his chance at redemption to DDP. It makes sense. I think Sean Strickland has done enough to fight for the title next. And if they don't give it to him, I think that's kind of a disgrace. Like Sean Strickland's done more than enough. He's been a company man his entire career. I think he deserved the chance to fight for the title in his next fight. What's next for Paulo Costa, man? I don't know. I don't know. Just pick somebody that he can beat. Get this man a win under his belt. I don't even care if the guy's unranked at this point. Just get him a win. Get some confidence under him, because everybody loves Paulo Costa. Everybody loves him. He's a fun personality. Like, just get this man a win. Get him back up on his feet so he can get some confidence back. And, you know, he's still fairly young. He's a draw in the UFC. That's why he's a co-main event after being 1-3 in his last 4. Now he's 1-4 in his last 5. Get this man a win. Get some confidence for him. So throw him anybody and get him back on his feet. Let's move on. Kevin Holland, Olashaychek. What's next for Kevin Holland, man? No, I'm going through all these scenarios for Kevin Holland. Number one is, what weight class is he going to fight in next? Is he going to fight it at welterweight? Is he going to fight at middleweight? What's going on there? I don't know. That's the thing. You really have no idea who Kevin Holland is going to fight next. So the question now becomes is, who should he fight next? I don't even know. You don't know. Kevin Holland's just a guy that the UFC has now, who they know is never going to be champion, but they know they can count on him to fight every 3 months. They know they can count on him to fight in either welterweight or middleweight. And they know that they can count on him to take any matchup that they give him. So if they can give him any type of matchup, he's probably just going to say yes to get his paycheck. I'm sure he gets paid a lot of money because he's had so many fights in the UFC and he's done the UFC so many favors. I agree with you, Larry. I think Kevin Holland at 170 has a lot more potential. We saw last night when he goes up against a middleweight, they hit a little bit harder. Like Usyk cracked him. Usyk cracked him, sat him on his butt, but Usyk just has no grappling defense, and Kevin Holland was able to exploit that with a very clean armbar and snap that thing in half. So I've thought about matchups for Kevin Holland at welterweight, and I just don't know that any of them really make sense. Like, I don't know where to put this guy. If you think he should have a rematch between Buckley, I think that would be a sick fight at 170. But I don't know that Buckley's going to want to fight back in the rankings since he's on a win streak. He's been taking fights left and right. He's picking up wins. I just don't know that he would want to fight back in the rankings. I mean, he's calling out Shavkat. Shavkat's like one fight away from a title shot. So I don't know that Buckley would really take that. But, I don't know. I could honestly see just a random ass matchup, like if he fought like Nick Diaz or something like that. Like it's way out of there. It's way out there. But they said at the fighter meetings earlier in the week, Kevin Holland said that he was offered Nick Diaz later in the year, and he wanted to fight sooner. So if the UFC's offering him Nick Diaz, why wouldn't they do it later? So I'm kind of looking at, if he's going to fight in the welterweight division, maybe they give him the winner between Nick Diaz and Vicente Luque. Maybe that makes sense. If we're just looking at guys that are active right now, maybe they give him the winner between Nick Diaz, Vicente Luque, which in all reality is probably going to be Vicente Luque. Just keep it a buck. It's probably going to be Vicente Luque. So if they do Vicente Luque versus Kevin Holland next, that's a solid fight. And Kevin Holland's ranked 15 in the welterweight division right now, so he's ranked. Luque's like 13 or something like that. I mean, kind of a fight that makes sense, but yeah, there's just really nowhere to go for Kevin Holland because he's just so off any type of path. Like, there's no path for Kevin Holland. He's not consistently fighting in one weight class. He's not really taking fights that make sense for a career to rise up the ranks. So he's just all over the place. That's just what he's going to be. He called himself a gatekeeper, which he's not a gatekeeper at all, because you look at his wins, he's not getting wins over like the up-and-coming prospects. He's getting wins over these old guys that he's taken on short notice, that he's just kind of going in there to get a win, get a victory. He's losing to the guys that are on the up and up, like the Jack Dellas or the MVPs or a Hamza Chimaev. He's losing to those guys. So he's not really a gatekeeper, but he called himself that way. That's pretty funny. But let's move on. Nico Price, Alex Morono, absolutely garbage fight. Absolutely garbage fight. I couldn't believe what I was watching. It was so gross. Just disgusting. I don't even want to talk about that one. Morono can't hurt a fly. I don't even think if he saw a spider on the ground and if he punched it, it might still be alive, because he's got nothing in those hands and he's got no gas tank. Just an awful performance from Alex Morono. Nico Price, on the other hand, not really a great performance for him. It really wasn't a good performance for him either, but he still managed to find a win as an underdog. Randy Brown, Zaleski dos Santos, not much to say about this one, but Randy Brown should definitely fight a ranked opponent next. I think he should fight Neil Magny because Neil Magny, gatekeeper, Randy Brown just breaking into the rankings. I think it makes sense. Give him the Neil Magny test. If he passes that, then he can move on. But yeah, Randy Brown. I like Randy Brown's style. It's just he just tends to give up a round. It's always 29-28, Randy Brown. So I don't know. Randy Brown's okay. Roman Kopylov, Cesar Almeida. Yeah, Zach. Fuck Cesar Almeida's takedown defense. What was that? We've seen this guy defend takedowns before. Like, he's defended takedowns against Dylan Budka. Dylan Budka's like an all-American wrestler or something like that. Last night, he gets in there with Roman Kopylov, gets dropped in the first round, and then round 2, he's starting to come on. Roman Kopylov shoots a takedown, and Cesar Almeida damn near just like jumps to his back. Like, what kind of takedown defense is that? He's just like throwing himself on his back, and then I think Kopylov got injured. I think he like injured his hand or something like that. So at that point, he's just laying and praying. Kopylov just gets on top of him, just lay and pray that Herb Dean doesn't stand him up. Herb Dean did stand him up once, but he was able to get it right after that. Like 5 seconds after they stood him up, he just shot another takedown, and Almeida jumped on his back. So, yeah, that was a bad look for Cesar Almeida. Quick picks later for the Louisville card. Dude, I haven't even looked at the Louisville card like at all. So I don't know. Maybe I'll put out a separate video on the channel here for some quick picks. We could watch that. But I haven't really looked at it at all. And honestly, there's like 14 fights or something like that. It would be tough because I got to do some film study. And I don't want to just be bullshitting some picks right now. So maybe I'll make a separate video on that. Holland is no BMF. MVP had him shook last fight. Well, bro, those shots that MVP was landing on Kevin Holland knock out a lot of guys, and Kevin Holland's got an insane chin. So the guy's a BMF. I'll give him that. He's a BMF. Anywhere, any place, he'll show up and take a fight. And he took a fight on 24 hours notice against Hamzat Chimaev. Like, is anyone else going to do that? Probably not. Prelims were terrible. Rope Lord. Prelims were absolutely terrible, man. I mean, we had 12 fights in total, and there was only 9 finishes on the card. And if you look at the prelims, 7 fights, it was 1 finish. And it was Jelton Almeida round 1 sub. Prelims were absolute trash. Yeah, like Almeida gets a sub against Romanov. Like, Romanov's just a fat dude. And Almeida he's going to choke out these fat dudes because he can just get them to the ground, literally just squeeze the shit out of them with his legs, and then they're like, oh, my belly's getting squeezed. I'm going to just give up my neck because I don't like my belly getting squeezed. I feel insecure because my flab's everywhere. And he gives up the neck, and Almeida chokes him out. Grant Dawson, just absolute domination against Joe Selecki. Dude's an insane grappler. His grappling is fun to watch to me. Like, it's just so dominant. I'm like, holy shit, dude. Like, these guys are just helpless. Jake Matthews, Phil Rowe. I don't really need to go over these prelims because they were so bad. Like, if you want to hear my thoughts on these prelims, jump over after this live and watch my full UFC recap on the Hayjivepicks YouTube channel, because there's not really much to say there. I go a little bit more in depth there, but I don't really think you guys care about my thoughts too much on this live, and we got more important things to talk about. We got a lot more important things to talk about. We got to talk about Dana White's comments on the pound-for-pound list. So if you don't know, you're probably living under a rock. But after UFC 302 last night, at the post-fight press conference, Dana White sits down, and they ask him about the pound-for-pound rankings, I believe. And I thought it was insane. Absolutely insane what Dana White was saying about Islam Makhachev and Jon Jones when it comes to the pound-for-pound list. Like, Islam Makhachev just got another finish to defend his title, 30 minutes, 20 minutes ago? And Jon Jones Dana White completely just throws that out the window. He's like, no, if you think Islam Makhachev is the number one pound for pound fighter right now, you're crazy. Jon Jones is the number one pound for pound fighter right now, undoubtedly. Like, dude, Jon Jones, he was glazing Jon Jones so hard, I thought he was about to. You look at his face, too, it's weird. It's weird. Now, I'm a Dana White guy. But he has a massive hard-on for Jon Jones. And what he was saying about Jon Jones and the look that he was giving the guy that was asking him about it, he was like, oh, yeah, no, like, you're fucking crazy if you think Jon Jones is the number one pound-for-pound fighter right now. Like, bro. And then he used the analogy that, like, if you put someone in the room with Jon Jones, anyone in the world, you put them in the room with Jon Jones is walking out of that room. I'm like, that's not what pound-for-pound fighter means. That's not what the number one pound-for-pound fighter spot means. If you throw them in a room, then this person's going to get out. That's like a Joe Rogan type of comparison. That's like some backyard stuff. That's not what we're talking about right now. Pound-for-pound fighter, the number one pound-for-pound fighter is relative to what has been occurring recently. He's the number one pound-for-pound fighter right now. Islam Makhachev is the number one pound-for-pound fighter right now. Why? Well, let's just see why. Islam Makhachev is on a 14-fight win streak. This is his fourth title fight. His first title fight was against Charles Oliveira, who should have had the belt at the time, but he got it taken away because he missed weight because of some scale malfunction. But Charles Oliveira was on an 11-fight win streak. He was the champion. Islam Makhachev finished him in the second round. And then after that, he fights Alexander Volkanovski. Volkanovski was on a 22-fight win streak, undefeated in the UFC, and the number one pound-for-pound fighter at the time. Islam Makhachev beats him by decision the first time, rematches him, and then knocks him out in the first round. And then last night, he fights Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier held the interim title. Dustin Poirier has 22 UFC wins and the most knockouts in lightweight history. Those are his last 4 fights. Jon Jones has 1 win in the last 4 years. Islam Makhachev beat Charles Oliveira, Volkanovski twice, and Dustin Poirier within the last 2 years. That's 4 wins in the last 2 years compared to Jon Jones' 1 win in the last 4 years. It's just insane, the glazing that Dana White was putting on for Jon Jones last night. It was absolutely insane. He's not active enough to be on the pound-for-pound list, for one, and he's not even active enough to be the UFC heavyweight champion right now. He's not active. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. It's ridiculous. Jones has not fought in over a year, and Dana can't get over Jones' last win. Laugh my ass off. Islam has fought like 3 times since Jones last. Yeah, man, like, pound for pound thing it's a fluid thing. Like, Jon just hasn't been active enough to be on, or to be even considered to be on the pound for pound list. He's just not active enough. And another thing that Dana was saying too, which was just blasphemy to me, is like, yeah, Jon Jones had run the light heavyweight division for the longest time, and then he moved up to the heavyweight division, and he beats the number 1 guy in the heavyweight division. Bro, he beat Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane was the interim title champion only because the UFC was blackballing Francis Ngannou, because once Francis Ngannou became the heavyweight champion, they wanted him to have a quick turnaround, and he didn't want to do that. So they made an interim title belt for the heavyweight division 4 months. 4 months. Or maybe 5. Even if it was 5. They made an interim title belt 5 months after Francis Ngannou won the heavyweight title, and it was Cyril Gane versus Derek Lewis. And Derek Lewis wasn't exactly on some crazy hot streak. So they just made this interim title basically out of nowhere for no reason. I think it was the only reason they did it was because they had a pay-per-view lined up in Texas, and they wanted Derek Lewis to be on that pay-per-view. So they're like, here we go, interim title belt. We'll throw Cyril Gane versus Derek Lewis. We got a hometown guy. We got a belt on the line. We got a main event. That's the only reason Cyril Gane ever held an interim title. And then Cyril Gane goes and fights Francis Ngannou. And Francis Ngannou beats him in 5 rounds. And not only that, Francis Ngannou is not a wrestler. Francis Ngannou out-grappled Cyril Gane. So Cyril Gane is not some stud. He wasn't the number 1 guy in the heavyweight division at the time. It wasn't. Because Francis Ngannou was. But Francis didn't want to be in the UFC anymore. So then Cyril Gane, I guess by default, is the next guy in line. And Jon Jones beats him in the first round because Cyril Gane has no grappling. Cyril Gane literally doesn't even train unless he's in camp. Cyril Gane's out filming a movie right now. He could have had a chance to fight Tom Aspinall. But no, Cyril Gane is out filming a movie for Netflix. That's a guy that doesn't really take his profession that serious. But no, in the eyes of Dana White, Cyril Gane is some absolute world beater that Jon Jones just ran through. And that's not even like talking about the fact that the skill level between lightweights and heavyweights is a lot different. And the depth in those divisions is 2 completely different worlds. The depth at the heavyweight division, so small. The depth at the lightweight division, massive. Absolutely massive. It was insane. Dana's fucking delusional for that take. I will say that. Cyril Gane has rejected Aspinall every time it has been offered. Yeah, man. Like, Cyril Gane doesn't take this shit seriously. Gane was just put in the number one position for Jones to move up and have a favorable matchup in the ranks. Completely agree, Larry. It's just crazy. Like, Jon Jones should not be the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter on anybody's list. And I honestly think Dana is just saying that. Maybe he believes it, but it's also to the point where Jon has gotten so much heat lately, and they have to sell the Jon Jones versus Stipe fight in some fashion that he's like, he thinks he needs to vouch for Jon Jones because people must have forgot that Jon Jones is the GOAT, and if you throw him in a room, he's going to walk out every time. Like, he's just trying to sell this fight that nobody wants to see. Does not matter how long he has not fought. You can't compare Islam's record to Jones. He took on everyone there was. That's the worst argument you can make. That he took on everyone there was. Yeah, what? 6 years ago? Let's just look at this. Since 2016, Islam Makhachev's 14-0. He's fought 14 times. He's 14-0. Since 2016, we're talking an 8-year gap. 2016, an 8-year gap. Jon Jones, win over OSP. A win that was overturned to DC. Gustafsson, Anthony Smith, Thiago Santos split decision. Dominic Reyes decision that he already arguably lost. And then Cyril Gane. In the meantime, Islam Makhachev, 14-0, wins over Dustin Poirier, 2 wins over Volkanovski, win over Charles Oliveira, Bobby Green, Dan Hooker, Thiago Moises, Drew Dober, Arman Tsarukyan, and more. I mean, come on. Come on, man. Islam's the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the UFC right now. You can't tell me Jon Jones is the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter when he's fought 1 time in the last 4 years. And it was against a heavyweight that can't grapple. Come on. There has to be some regulations to the pound-for-pound list. Like, there's a reason Islam's number 1 right now. It's because it comes down to who's... If we put if we matched up Jon Jones's weight at heavyweight and we put Islam Makhachev at that weight, we cloned him at the same size and the same weight, as Jon Jones, who would win? I'm taking Islam Makhachev all day. All day. Why do you keep saying years ago? LOL, what does that mean? Years ago? Or we're talking years ago. What do you mean? Years ago. How long ago it was? Jon Jones has only fought one time in the last 4 years. So you can't hold something that he did 6 or 7 years ago and compare it to what it is now. Like Islam's those 4 wins that I just listed off, Volk twice, DP, Charles Oliveira, all in the last 2 years, 2.5 years. Come on, man. How can he be pound for pound if he has been knocked out cold? That happened fucking 8 years ago, 9 years ago. That literally happened 9 years ago. So stupid. Connor 14, get John's meat out of your mouth, bro. Seriously. One of these Jones meat riders. This Islam versus Jones pound for pound shit should, I gotta see that. Should even be a debate. Islam is clearly leading the pound for pound. Completely agree, Larry. Am I gonna have to make a video on this? Because good lord, some people just need to come to their senses and be like, bro, Jon Jones hasn't been active enough to be the #1 pound for pound fighter right now. So dumb. Jones meat riders are crazy. It's actually crazy. Because I commented on, I think it was Full Send MMA's reel of it. And oh my God, the Jones meat riders came for me. They came for me. And I don't even care because all you can do is sit back and look at him and be like, all right, bro. You've been told by Dana White this whole time that Jon Jones is this absolute killer and this guy that just cannot be beat. Like arguably should have lost to Dominic Reyes. Went to a split decision with Thiago Santos. And since then, he's won 1 fight in the last 4 years. And you look at Islam Makhachev, 14-fight win streak. Beat Alexander Volkanovski twice. Beat Charles Oliveira. And beat Dustin Poirier. And not to mention that, finished all 3 of them. It's just ridiculous. Have I heard the Jon Jones being gay rumors? Laughed my ass off. Funny vids out there. Yes, I have. I've watched it. It's funny. It's super funny. I think it's hilarious. They're more of Islam haters. They are more of Islam haters than Jones meat riders. I agree with you 100%. Spitting facts only. Bro, I've been labeled an Islam hater. Like anytime I'm like, give any pushback to Islam, I get called like an Islam hater, but bro, I respect the hell out of him. I'll fight to the death to defend that guy as the #1 pound for pound fighter right now because he is. You have to be able to recognize that how good he is because he's absolutely insane. Shut up before I ankle pick you. That's funny. Do I love the MMA guru? I like his content. I think it's funny. I think it's really funny. I always love his videos of like he's uncovering something, like the Jon Jones stuff, like the Ian Gary stuff. Those are always funny. You say Islam is pound for pound because Jones fights were years ago, but then you say, okay, Islam was knocked out, but that was years ago. LOL, bro. What do you mean by years ago? Jones still beat who he beat. How are you not getting this, Connor? I'm saying his wins years ago should not count for the present moment. Just like I'm saying Islam getting knocked out 9 years ago should not count for the present moment. Those are apples to apples. I'm not counting something that happened years ago when it comes to the present. Seems pretty easy concept to me, but maybe I can't explain something to you because you got John's meat all over your face and you can't see or hear what I'm saying. Why everyone hate on Jones? Laugh my ass off, bro. I don't know. He's easy to hate on, bro. I don't think he's a very it's not even hate at this point. Like all you have to do is just fight Tom Aspinall and I'll be chilling. But if he fights Stipe, you better believe I'll be hoping Stipe knocks him out. Shama, brother. Shama. Connor 14 must be baiting me. Maybe he is. Maybe he is. He might be baiting me. You can't compare them. Jones fought the better people. I mean, Islam has 3 good wins. Armin, Charles, and Volk. Yeah, okay, buddy. Okay. Good for you, brother. Makes no sense. It still happened. Huh. Cool. Cool, brother. All right. Get that off the screen. Thank you. All right, fellas. I think we can end it there. It's enough of this. I'm done with Connor 14 baiting me, because this guy obviously does not know what he's talking about. And we can end it there. Appreciate y'all for watching. We'll be here next week, recapping UFC Louisville next week. Stay tuned to the channel. We're dropping the official picks later in the week for this week's UFC card. We'll give you the best bet show on Friday, and then we'll be back here Sunday service. Other than that, man, appreciate y'all. Rope Lord, thanks for joining. Larry, thanks for joining. We'll be back next week. Hayjivepicks. We out.